Hello, friends, and welcome to the Holistic Psychology Workshop. We're so happy to have you join us.
Yes, we're thrilled that you're here, and we're excited to know more about you, including your personal and professional goals.
And we are introducing our 7-step PANACEA system, so feel free to include any questions or comments in the chat bar at any time. Otherwise, we will have a live Q&A at the end of each workshop session.
And we have selected one of our volunteers that will be sharing her answers and comments with us in our workshop today. For those who are signed up for the 8-week workshop, you'll be receiving a free copy of the Genetic Recoding book. This ebook is the audio and written introduction to the practitioner diploma courses as a course prerequisite, and will guide you to reprogram your subconscious mind, genetically recode epigenetic patterns, including self-sabotaging behaviors and limiting beliefs, using advanced recoding techniques and holistic therapy practices. It will be very beneficial for you in helping you navigate through the rest of this workshop series.
And one advantage that sets our program apart from maybe other programs is that this workshop is designed to help you as the practitioner address your personal healing first, to both help you master your challenges and as well as further enable you to help your clients in a greater capacity. This is a 7-step acronym system, and in today's workshop, we will be covering step one, which is addressing the presenting problem by decoding subconscious programming. And we'll be transmuting the presenting problem at the core DNA level through each of these steps over the next 7 weeks. So in week 2, we will be discussing adaptive emotional responses to heal shame and resistance. In week 3, we will cover neutralize emotional triggers with perceptual reframing. In week 4, we will cover accountability yields empowerment, removing the victim mindset, and week 5, compassion and empathy to dissolve resentment, using empathy as the secret weapon to heal relationships. And in week 6, evaluate growth and gain gratitude. Week 7, alchemical transformation, aligning to your purpose and potential.
So we have a lot to look forward to. And for those of you who don't know us, we will just share a brief introduction to quickly get acquainted. So we are Corinne and Camille Sullivan, the founders of Liberated Living. We're business entrepreneurs, authors, and holistic practitioners. We have a broad background in psychology and holistic medicine and have worked as health professionals, counselors, and therapists. And we are accredited instructors where we train and certify professionals in internationally accredited holistic diploma programs, as well as offer advanced epigenetic and holistic psychology e-courses that include a turnkey business model.
And most importantly, we're delighted to get to know more about you and become acquainted with you throughout this workshop. The key to getting the most out of anything, including this workshop, is by applying the correct strategies to ensure that we're working smarter versus harder. And the Pareto principle indicates that if we apply 20% of the correct steps, we will benefit 80% rather than the reverse 20%. So we want to share the benefits that you can look forward to by applying this PANACEA system.
In this workshop, we will be covering how to gain key strategies to decode subconscious blocks and recode default epigenetic programming to overcome inherent challenges, how you can fulfill your purpose and unlock your potential, discover how to activate the correct gene expression to align to your best self, learn how to recondition your mind for success using the correct psychology and upgrading your neurocircuitry, genetically recode subconscious beliefs, which is the free ebook you'll be receiving for your personal use and benefit. That is available as an ebook, audiobook, as well as a downloadable PDF. You'll be receiving guidance toward mental and emotional freedom. You can be awarded a fully accredited diploma as a certified practitioner in this 7-week workshop and receive an already done for you practitioner's manual with powerful workbook exercises and therapeutic strategies for both personal use or to use with a turnkey business in a box for those advancing their coaching or therapy practice, which is digital and downloadable as well. You can also receive professional training and one-on-one sessions throughout your genetic recoding process, so you can master your own medicine to become the expert in your field and receive a higher income reach, as well as repair interrelational dynamics, breaking epigenetic patterns, and more.
And the questions that are contained in the PANACEA workshop require you to be introspective and very honest with yourself. So if you are unable to answer any of these questions or complete any of the exercises, it may help to explore deeper into your psyche to gain better sense of emotional self-awareness. So if you're struggling to connect with your emotions, it may indicate a level of emotional suppression or even feeling dissociation or denial, which can occur due to trauma, because it is a protection mechanism to avoid feeling more pain by anesthetizing. So it often protects us from feeling like we can even go deeper with our emotions. However, we are here to help. So no matter what level you're at, we can help you to gain the most benefits and complete each if you can, complete each segment to the best of your ability. And you can revisit any of the missed sections when you are ready. We want to guide you to decode any core blind spots to overcome in 2023 with key psychotherapy questions and exercises. Each step is designed to help you transmute the obstacle and recode epigenetic and subconscious programming that causes sabotage cycles. So we're going to start with step 1 to help identify these blind spots and subconscious blocks. For example, once we can identify a problem, we will know how to properly address it, because awareness of the pattern is the first step, and asking key questions allow us to process, examine, meditate, and also shake the brain loose to gain new solutions.
The first acronym P of the PANACEA stands for presenting problem and is related to a problem or a pattern, a person or a perceived void, which is an unmet need or another life challenge, and is very likely associated with an inherited belief. Perceived voids from childhood may create ongoing patterns from subconscious programs, perceiving our needs as having been unmet in our youth. For instance, those who experience fear of abandonment likely suffered abandonment or neglect patterns in their youth and as recurring circumstances in their adult life.
And we all realize that a large number of our beliefs are a result of our psychological and subconscious conditioning. But what we don't often realize is that many of these beliefs are generational and go deeper into our genetic programming. Once we become more aware of the unconscious programming, we can begin to uproot them and embrace better iterations of ourselves. So let's explore deeper to decode these emotional blocks. We're going to start with the warm-up questions to get to know more about you as we ease into therapeutic exercises. So first of all, are you currently practicing as a coach or therapist, or have you ever been in counseling, therapy, or worked with a coach before?
Would you like me to answer my question?
Oh, sure.
My hand is raised.
Please, yes.
Yes, I have.
Okay. And what do you currently do for a living, if you want to answer that, like maybe a job title that you want to share with us?
Sure. I'm a wellness coach.
Okay. Beautiful. We need more wellness coaches in this world. So what are your professional interests and goals if it's something different than what you're presently doing?
Being a wellness coach.
Uh-huh.
I focus on body, mind, spirit wellness, and I'm open to other avenues of income as well.
Absolutely. Which is generally something most of us want anyway, right? So it's a very lofty goal to make an impact in helping others, as well as increasing our revenue or multiple streams of income. Wonderful answer. Okay, so what do you need to achieve these particular goals?
One, I love this work with the panacea because there are some limited beliefs that are stopping me from getting to the level that I like to be with in my company and with my own personal health and wellness. And so I'm really excited about this work so that I can continue to have breakthroughs inside of what's stopping me.
Okay, so you know what? That's exactly what this panacea is designed for, is to help us address those limiting beliefs. So limiting beliefs, as we're going to cover in the panacea, thank you for sharing that, because that is universal. We are all going to be addressing some kind of limiting belief, even if it's, I don't feel good enough or deserving, right?
Right.
So if any of these apply that are listed here on the screen, share more clientele, more credentials or qualifications, more income, of course, we all want more of that, more flexibility, training and experience, the ability to work online or remotely, a turnkey business, done for you content and programs, a proven system to help you succeed, a curriculum, which is a holistic, complete curriculum, or all the above.
All the above,
All
actually.
the above.
Yes, I would like to develop skills in every area of those areas.
Oh, wonderful. Yes, I figured most of these would apply. All right.
Okay, and you're also welcome to use the chat box if you'd like to answer any of these questions. Are there any obstacles holding you back from achieving this goal? And I know that you had already answered limiting beliefs. There's also generational programming. Some of those limiting beliefs can be generational. Conflicts in a relationship, finances, a busy schedule, or other, or anything else that's holding us back from achieving our goals or this specific professional goal.
Okay. Michael says it's just to get started. He's just ready and anxious to get started. What's the next step?
Okay, great.
Perfect. He's ready. All right. And you can even just sum it up to your top one or two of your biggest challenges that you're facing and wanting help with throughout this therapeutic workshop as well.
All right, and ask yourself what's not working, or what are you wanting to improve about your business, your job, your relationship, or just life in general. Ultimately, what is your end goal?
I'd be happy to answer again if everybody else is just putting in the chat box. Can I answer out?
Please,
Okay?
please
Okay.
do.
I'm sorry, I'm more of a communicator, but I'm
Yeah, I
grateful
love
for all
it.
the people who are answering in the chat box, and please continue to, answer, and don't let me take all the time. But for me, for sure, it's limiting beliefs, particularly around time. I'm not good enough, and I need to develop better skills and money. So definitely limiting beliefs around those areas.
Okay, well, thank you. And we did put you in the hot seat today. So actually we do appreciate your participation, since, you were selected, but anyone else is also welcome to participate as well in the chat box. Thank you for sharing those, because I think that is something many of us can relate to, if not all of us, to some extent. There's always some area where we have experienced a limiting belief based on a past event, where we don't feel like we are good enough, or we still want to develop ourselves, right? And because of the way our minds are conditioned, keeping our long held focus and awareness on our vision can often be battled by those internal arguments of what we may not believe is possible or even easily attainable. And that's when it may help us to list those counter arguments to dispute those thoughts. And we will be guiding you through this exercise extensively in one of our 7 steps. So hopefully you can make some good headway with this. So what area has this problem or challenge impacted in your life? Work and finances, your social and relationships, kids, family, or marriage, your home, such as a living situation, or again, in that mental, physical, emotional well-being, such as mental and emotional health.
Sorry, can I answer again? My hand's raised.
Yes, please. Yep.
All of them, particularly though this year is with health, because I'm going through a couple of health challenges, and it's affecting my my ability to feel confident about being a wellness coach.
Thank you. And most, if not all of these areas, tend to be impacted by generally one of our challenges. And that's why it can become so crippling. So it's really unfortunate to hear that. I'm sorry that you're going through that. What do you feel needs to change for your goal to become a reality? In other words, what do you have to maybe give up or even make room for what you want, or what you have been maybe sacrificing at too great of a cost?
That's a great question. Can I answer again?
Yes, again, you're in the hot seat. So we selected
Okay.
you. So please, that way it can
Okay.
be easier, more consistent.
Sorry, I don't need to
Thank you.
hog the whole thing, but
Yep.
this is just really pertinent to my heart right now. So again, I just really appreciate this work. I'll just give you a quick example. So I know that our emotions are tied to our physical attributes. So for example, when I was little, there was some trauma in my family and I wasn't allowed to speak. And so I had strep throat all the time, to the point where I had to have my tonsils removed because I just constantly had strep throat because it stopped. I was stopped from being able to communicate. Well, recently this week, I have been feeling bad about myself and down on myself and seeing myself in a negative way. And so I developed eye infections this week. And so I have big red eyes, swollen eyes. And I know that, again, just grateful for this work, but I know that I want to have breakthroughs to shift that way where I don't see myself so poorly and I can see myself in a better light. And I know that will help to heal my eye infections.
You know, I know that you're very advanced, and I love that, you're practicing the holistic medicine and helping to really tie that in even for other people, who are
Absolutely.
joining us today.
Yes, because I think what you're addressing now is knowing that our body is our subconscious mind and it will manifest on a physical level anywhere there's emotional suppression. So you sharing that, believe it or not, might really help open up some eyes and help us understand where we might have some blind spots, so we can see ourselves and remove those filters so that we can have better outcome with that. And that's what we would hope for with you.
Yeah. And to be able to remove and recode these subconscious beliefs, even on the genetic level, because oftentimes they are transgenerational as well.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, so do you feel like you have a game plan and you can handle this on your own? Or would you like group or one-on-one support, or self-paced and at your own time and convenience? Because I've learned, I've been a do-it-yourself person most of my life, and I've learned how much more powerful it is to get the support that's either one-on-one or group, that really takes our results to the next level, because it all keeps each of us, in check, accountable, and it gives us that extra boost that we all need.
Yes.
I totally agree. And I think that there are different times in our life when different scenarios might be applicable. But as far as right now, I think mostly having support and accountability and group. Like, for example, in being a wellness coach, we do wellness challenges and we have a community of people. And if we post on our Facebook group every day, and the posts help other people have breakthroughs or see other ways of dealing with same scenarios. And so I definitely think that, having a group and working together one-on-one, either that or in a group, can make a big difference for helping people to have breakthroughs and see new possibilities.
Wonderful answer.
So yeah, great answer. Totally agree, because there are different times and scenarios in our life where we could just be self-paced, do it yourself. Looks like we have a lot of people in the comments that
want the one-on-one.
like the one-on-one, they like the group.
Yes.
There's a couple self-paced,
And self-paced.
yeah.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so what subconscious beliefs or generational patterns would you like to change? And please go ahead and list up to 2 that have affected important areas of your life that you are focusing on today.
Did you want to share what any of those
Sure.
patterns
Yeah.
are?
If
Okay.
you guys are great. Instead of typing in the chat, I'm a lot better communicator.
Mhm.
So,
Thank
um,
you.
there are several of them, but I know that they come from my childhood. One of them is that I'm not good enough, and the other one is that there were hard things to be to be present to or to be witness to, and so it was hard to digest them. So I have struggled with my digestive health for years, and hold my weight in my middle section because I know that I will hold on to things versus being able to digest them. And so I want to have breakthroughs as far as the limited beliefs in my childhood, so that I can be powerful in knowing that I am good enough and being able to receive the joy and peace that I truly desire, and also being able to digest so that I can feel like I can have freedom in that area and not struggle with digestive issues.
Okay.
Thank you
Wow.
for sharing. I would have to say that so many people, one of their top limiting beliefs is not feeling enough, not feeling adequate, not feeling good enough. I think that's a really top one. Please, raise your hand or type in the chat box if that's something that you can relate to.
Mhm.
We also have,
Yes.
people that have reported abuse, relationships, marriage, money, relationships again, finances. Okay, and it looks like a lot of you can relate to the limiting beliefs of not feeling enough.
And difficulty digesting the hardships or stresses of life, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And learning how to develop those proper adaptive coping responses, which is what we're going to be working on in one of our workshops to help us to work through and decode and recode these presenting problems. So let's look at this
Totally.
subconscious belief or generational pattern that we're looking to change that's affected important areas of our life. And let's ask, is it an epigenetic or generational pattern? And if you don't know, that's okay. We're going to help you to decode this.
Yeah. Probably a lot of I'm not good enough, exactly, programming, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so although our PANACEA workbook is an interactive workbook and will be available for purchase and provided to those that are taking the practitioner course, we're also going to get old school. So if you want, feel free to grab your notepad. And the reason for that is because you can get so much more out of this when you begin writing it down, answers and insight and solutions begin to come forward. So let's start by, again, this may seem redundant, but writing down that presenting problem or the main obstacle that you feel you're facing is preventing you from attaining an ideal outcome, if any. And we will be addressing this presenting problem throughout the next 7 weeks of this workshop. So if you aren't aware of what the presenting problem is yet, I would suggest just considering getting at the core level of I'm not good enough syndrome and allowing yourself to address that programming until you gain further clarity, because we're going to be asking some other questions and through these steps where you will likely gain a little bit more clarity. So let's go ahead and have you state the ideal outcome, whether it's a goal or objective that you would like to achieve, so that we can help you decode those emotional blocks by identifying or even asking if the problem is related to a childhood program, a parent-child interaction pattern, or an epigenetic pattern. We're gonna cover a little bit more of what these are. However, just if you can, identify if there's any relooping patterns to begin with. An example may be those with divorced parents are more likely to repeat their parents' marriage and those familiar patterns and find themselves following into their parents' same marital footsteps.
And I'm glad we use that example, because a lot of people post in the chat box relationships or abuse. That may be a marital pattern alone and of itself, whether it was an abusive relationship, they've been abused a lot in their life, that it can be a generational pattern, and then it repeats and they continue out of a familiar relationship or a familiar pattern to either become abusive or end up in abusive relationships.
Very
become a victim of abuse.
common. Yeah, very common.
So consider the patterns of your parents or primary caretakers that you hoped to avoid repeating. Like if they were abusive, for example. Ask, how have you become like your parents? Or where you are swinging the pendulum the other way and resisting becoming like your parents or caretakers. So take a look at that, where, you know, maybe they had a codependent relationship. We swung the pendulum to being way too independent, counter-dependent. So let's take a look at any behaviors they may have had that we're avoiding becoming like.
May I share again? Sorry to again hog the call tonight.
No,
I'm
you
just
don't
having-
ever have to apologize. This is what the entire interactive workshop is for. Yes.
I'm just having some stuff come up. This is really powerful work, and
Right.
it's just helping me see some new perspectives. So
Wonderful.
when you say being like your parents, my mom struggles with anxiety really bad, and I know I have it. Me and I have another sister who has anxiety, and I watch how my mom handles her anxiety, becoming OCD, and I watch how my other sister handles her anxiety, being more of someone who doesn't want to leave the house. Well, my anxiety, how I'm handling it is, when I was little, my anxiety came from not feeling safe, since I did grow up in an abusive home, and not knowing if I was going to be taken care of, and or if I was going to be safe. And so I would bite my fingernails until they would bleed. And I did it and I sucked my thumb until I was about 6 years old. And I bit my fingernails until I was 18, until I started using good nutrition. And then my fingernails got strong enough to where I couldn't bite them anymore. But I switched that over to another bad habit, where I scratch my head. And I scratch my head so much that my scalp has sores all over it. And I've lost half of my hair from scratching my head so much. And so I know that it's coming from anxiety of not feeling like I'm going to be safe or taken care of. And so for me, I'm really looking forward to this work so that I can have breakthroughs inside of knowing that I don't have to have that anxiety and repeat the generation habits of my parents.
Right.
Beautiful. I'm glad that you understand that the connection between the, you know, the symptoms of the stress and anxiety and what it's leading to, whether it's the biting the nails, scratching the head, and that these are all, it's important for us to know that these are symptoms of, even anxiety is a symptom of a certain belief. So let's say if you have the, you know, the certain limiting belief, I'm not enough. Well, what kind of behaviors are we exhibiting that's causing us to try to override that limiting belief? And to what cost? Is it causing anxiety because we feel like we have to maybe work too hard or do too much, or whatever it might be that's creating the anxiety and producing those symptoms? So once we address the emotion and the subconscious belief, those symptoms will start to go away. And there could be multiple symptoms of one belief system.
I also want to acknowledge you that you can correlate it to the feeling of not feeling safe, right? Because
Yes.
oftentimes in our youth, we will see children will begin to develop a specific nervous habit because they're not feeling safe and not knowing how to communicate it. It's a way that it's addressing that anxiety, right? Putting the attention to something else. So I know, again, you're very astute in this work, but knowing that at the core level, it's not feeling safe is now what we're looking to recode into feeling safe, right?
Yes.
Definitely.
And anxiety is something that's, we're living in the future instead of the present. And so when we get things right in our emotional and subconscious mind, we can live more present. So if we need more assistance identifying some of these patterns, we are going to cover them more in depth and some more in-depth questions.
Yes. And in fact, we're going to ask some questions to elaborate more on the childhood program, the parent-child interaction pattern, and any other epigenetic or generational programming. So this will help you to determine what the programming is related to. So take note if there was a specific event that perhaps likely occurred in early youth, maybe even prior to the age of 7, during those primary development years of the subconscious mind, where we develop the programming. and note if the pattern or program, for example, if there was an unmet need that is a recurring theme, often unwittingly transferred to our spouse or our partner with or within primary relationships, such as not feeling supported or being able to express our needs, as you were mentioning, right? And you said it was in your youth, so likely it is, okay, parents divorced or prior to the age of 7, which was age 6. So note if it's still a recurring theme or event. If those unmet needs, again, are still present, it's often generational. Okay, moved away at age 5. So if it's related to another individual, what emotional trigger was activated? You mentioned your parents, your mother had anxiety. So can you identify a mirror reflecting that same behavior with this other individual, whether it was a parent, spouse, or sibling, relative, and so forth? So for instance, perhaps your mother had the same behavior. Maybe she didn't feel safe. So are you operating under the same belief? Okay, abused. I felt angry and afraid, feared my father. Absolutely. Okay, so this is all coming together, right? Can you recall the past event or notice a recurring theme in your life? Because we will often triangulate in a codependent relationship to feel safe or feel loved and then create a recurring theme, which we will cover next. Okay, so multiple events. Thank you for your participation. Any other comments before we move on?
I know that also too, and sorry, I'll keep this brief, but addictions can come out of
Yes.
um,
Yes.
challenging, situations from trauma or from past or from,
Yes.
childhood or generations. But
Yes.
I know that in my childhood, there were a few things that happened, incidences, and I know them, I know particularly which ones they are, but I developed a couple of, unfortunately, addictions, and one of them was to food. When I was a little baby, my father didn't feel like that I needed to be fed in the middle of the night. And so my mom would sneak Jello water bottles in my crib. And that was what I would get, what gave me comfort. So I became addicted to sugar and gained a lot of weight. And then inside of anytime something hard happened in my life, I would just turn to food or sugar or treats to comfort me.
Right.
So there's a couple other addictions that that I struggle with and have with inside of work like the PANACEA to identify where it came from, willing to let it go, and then take a look at new perspectives and new ways of being to implement good healthy habits inside of that, in place of those addictions. So addictions are a hard thing to face in our lives, and there is healing that can come forth from those addictions.
Yes, that's an excellent point. Once again, this is why I'm really grateful that you are, you are participating at the level that you are today, because when we often have a challenge, because we are young, we don't know how to develop, we haven't developed those adaptive coping responses. We don't know what healthy coping is. So we will turn to something for that comfort, as you mentioned. And unfortunately, when we turn to for comfort, it's stimulating the dopamine levels in our mind that says this actually feels better than the pain. So we're anesthetizing the pain and trying to find any level of comfort to feel safe, to get us away from that painful event. And therefore, there's that codependency cycle that we begin to develop. And then, as you mentioned before, not necessarily an overnight process, but working on now healing that codependency or addiction. So that's so much of what we address in the 7-step system. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. I just want to add one small thing to that. And I know obviously this is what some of the sessions and stuff are for, but we need to remember that sometimes if we're feeling guilty giving into pleasure, because we're needing pleasure, because we feel like there's so much pain that we're covering up, we're trying to cover it up with pleasure, and that's okay. Obviously, we don't want to abuse it or become addicted, but it's the guilt of giving into that pleasure that reinforces the behavior. So working through that guilt, working through any of that shame will help to remove some of that codependency, whether it's to food whatever the addiction may be. And that's why it's, always important that we're addressing the psychological side of things, which I know you are. So
Yeah.
I
Yes.
wanted to
Get
read
into the
one of the
programming.
comments. This one looks like it's related to the generational pattern of becoming like my mother and married someone narcissistic like my father.
Yes, and there's the parent-child, but there's also the familiar pattern. So it covers all of
Exactly.
probably the epigenetics, which may also suggest that maybe the parents married someone like their parents. So who knows how many generational patterns there are, right?
Right.
Yep. Oh, okay. Yep. And that's the response. Yep. Similar situation with their parents. Yep. See, the cycle continues. Thanks for those examples.
Okay, so the next part of the presenting problem is the Cartman drama triangle. So which archetypal role do you primarily find yourself defaulting to? Is it the victim, the rescuer, or the persecutor? Or all of the above? Now, we cover these archetypes in the introduction course, which is the free ebook. But for those of you that are not familiar, we're just going to do a brief recap. So the persecutor dominates, blames, tears down, is dominating, and plays the role of the authoritarian. Victims often feel helpless, powerless, and victimized by a persecutor or outside circumstance. They believe that things are beyond their control and happening to them, and that their dreams have been lost or denied. Rescuers are classic enablers that fears not being needed and feels guilty if they don't go to the rescue. Now, one of the secrets to this, and we get into this into the introduction course, so we're just being brief, is that we rotate between all of the roles. We might have primary archetypes that we default to. So looks like we've got a lot of rescuers here, no surprise, a couple victims, all of the above. And I don't see anyone that's typed in persecutor, even though I know sometimes we're aware. One other secret I'm going to tell you about the Cartman drama triangle. Many of you are aware of this triangle, may not be, is that oftentimes when we think we're the rescuer, we actually are, we think that we're being a rescuer, but to others, we're being portrayed as the persecutor because we're coming across as the know-it-all, the person that has the answers, maybe bossy and controlling. So oftentimes it's exhibiting traits of the persecutor. So other people are experiencing us as that. We think we're trying to step in and be helpful and be rescuing. Now, sometimes the rescue can also be very compassionate, loving, and comforting, but oftentimes it's coming across as the persecutor. So that's just one thing to keep in mind, because many of us have that rescuer inside of us, and it doesn't mean we can't help people. We just do not want to be codependent on these behaviors. And although we may be well-intended, we will identify more with a primary role and then typically rotate between roles throughout different scenarios in our life. So write down who you most frequently play this role with, because drama triangles initially start with close relationships such as parents, siblings, other family members, and intimate partners. So reflect on the most common issues or circumstances that lead to this drama triangle. So think about the people that you play these drama triangle roles with when you get into conflict. And then reflect on the issues, if there's common issues or circumstances that lead to this drama triangle. What kind of conflicts lead you there?
Would you be okay if I just answer?
Sure. I was waiting for some comments, so go ahead.
Okay. So I've been married 3 times with my first husband. He was a little bit more like my dad. So I was more of we fought all the time. So I was more of the persecutor. And then with my second husband, he was a lot like my dad. And so I became the victim inside of that relationship. And then with my third husband, he's a lot like my mom. And so I feel like I have to rescue him.
That's interesting.
And so those are the roles you played with your parents, right? So you've you've played,
Yes, I
it's
was a
the same
victim with my
parent-child
dad.
interaction. Yeah,
Yep,
that's
I was a
repeated.
victim with my dad, and I rescued my mom all the time.
Yes. Very self-aware. You're very self-aware. Okay. And very interesting.
Yeah, that shows you rotating between roles. So that is interesting. And a lot of times if people have a first marriage, they tend to go the polar opposite and marry someone completely opposite, which it sounds like you kind of went somewhere in between, and then the opposite, the mother versus the father, right?
Yep. Yeah. My first husband was in between.
Yeah.
Second was
Okay,
my dad, and my third was my mom.
Okay, so let's ask the next question then. What is the emotion that this person or these people or even these events provoke in you that lead you to play this role? Do we know what the emotion is? Let's dig further.
Okay, so with my first husband, um, it was more of he didn't keep his word to things or keep his commitments, and that would cause me to be angry. And then I would just turn into a persecutor and be mad at him, make him wrong, and we would just fight instead of communication and working through things. And then with my second husband, he controlled me with money. And so when he didn't get his way or it didn't be the way that he said that it had to be, I would turn into a victim and I would just let him be in control of everything.
Dominate.
And then with my third husband, he had an accident, so he's struggled, with work and doing things and his health and just I've had to do a lot of the responsibility inside this relationship, and so I feel like I constantly have to help him, and I don't want to resent him. You know what I mean? I want to love him and have it be a partnership.
Right.
So again, that's why I'm looking forward to this work so that I can have breakthroughs inside of my perception of how I'm seeing things and work through to where it's more of empowerment versus these three areas.
Right. And so when you said empowerment, so would you agree that the common denominator between the three of them would be not feeling empowered, feeling powerless, perhaps?
Yeah, definitely. And not only that, but not knowing, not knowing how to
Absolutely.
break through in those three areas and feeling like
No.
that's just how it has to be. So again, this work is so valuable because
Right.
then we can have breakthroughs because now they'll know
Yes.
the education of how to move forward.
Yes. Now we're parenting the inner child that's been, we're going to now take over and steer us in the right direction, right? From the programming, because you mentioned that these were all patterns with your parents that have been transferred to your spouse.
And not only that, real quick, just not only that, but I read a lot of personal development books or empowering books on leadership and learning and education. And
Mhm.
one of the ones I'm
Yeah.
reading right now, it's called Limitless, and it's amazing. But it's about a guy who had an accident in school, and it injured his brain, and he really couldn't learn. And his whole life he was labeled retarded. And when he got older, he decided that he wanted to really discover what he could do. And he discovered all kinds of cool things that he really could do, and that was just a perception. But he eventually developed a school to help children who have a hard time learning. And he developed a program that has been so effective worldwide. And so I think about, what do we have ourselves in a box thinking of ourselves like, I don't have to be the rescuer. I can look at that as, okay, I've had it serve me to this point in my life, but now I can have it be move more to empowering partnership. And then
Yes.
what can I do with the abuse from my childhood, and how can I turn that into helping me be even better of a person than if I was
Yes.
somebody who didn't go through abuse, because now I know. Now I know some things that other people have struggled with and how to have
Yes.
compassion and
Yes.
and do powerful things from being the victim.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
wow.
We often become the experts in the challenges we have learned to overcome, and therefore it can translate into a profession, which can perhaps even, fund our life for what we want. And this is one of the steps we do cover in the Panacea is what problem did we have to overcome that we can now be a solution for others, such as this gentleman with a learning disability. He wanted to help others with the same issue, right? That's a
Yeah.
wonderful example.
That was a very beautiful story and a perfect example, because at the end of this, that's what aligning is the alchemy side of it. And that's even with the Cartman drama triangle, because we don't need to be the persecutor, the victim, or the rescuer, because what is on the other side of that is the empowerment model, right?
Yes.
Having, like you
Exactly.
said, empowering relationships.
Yes.
Because we're stepping away from whatever the belief system that's causing us to be the rescuer, the victim, or the persecutor, which
Yes.
what we all relate to is actually the victim, because that's where they all originate from, is the victim role. And so that's what we can all relate to. So when we get down to the actually core belief and emotion, we're getting down to where we're feeling like a victim, where we're feeling powerless, where we're feeling inadequate, where we're feeling not enough. And that's why it's important to get to the emotion that leads us to play these roles. And we have one that says not feeling heard or understood. That's a perfect example, because that person's
Yes.
feeling invalidated in some way. They're not feeling heard. And that's what's causing them to probably act like a victim, or even maybe a persecutor, right? Maybe they get angry.
Right.
Maybe they speak up louder, whatever it
Right.
might be.
And which is going to be the common denominator in all of these scenarios that we've covered, because at the core, when someone doesn't feel like their needs are met, it's they didn't feel heard, seen, or understood. So with any of your three marriages, you didn't feel seen, heard, or understood in any of those instances, because that's what you didn't feel with either of your parents, correct?
Correct. And 30 seconds example, when I wasn't allowed to speak until I was 6 years old, the environment that I grew up in, children were not allowed to speak. So I've never even spoke to another human being. I only spoke to like plants and trees and animals. And
Mhm.
so until I was 6, I did not ever even speak to another human being besides my mom and dad. And so, but what's interesting is, like the guy that wrote the book, I choose to be a powerful communicator. And with
Yes.
all three of my husbands, there was no communication. When things would go bad, it was either withdraw or fight, like the flight or fight, right? And so
Mhm.
that's something that I so desire, is to be an empowering communicator. And yet, even though it was something that was limited in my childhood, it doesn't have to be so. In fact, I can go beyond ordinary to extraordinary inside of communication.
And now you're giving your heart a voice, and translating that into what you're contributing to society, right?
Yes,
Maybe even on a larger scale, is using your powerful voice for good, because perhaps you felt as if you weren't allowed to have a voice and communicate.
exactly.
Well, thank you for sharing your contribution and even your examples.
Yes. Because where our weaknesses is intended to become our strengths, right?
It is.
Like this
Exactly.
limitless
Exactly.
example. So
Yeah.
it's perfect.
Yes, thank you for letting me share.
Yeah, thank you.
Sharing. Okay, we're going to move on to the mirror technique. So now I'm going to ask, can you identify the mirror that this pattern or person appears to reflect? And sometimes, I mean, oftentimes it's a pattern, or the person could be like, okay, like in the case where you're sharing, it could be the existing marriage, right? But they may all be a part of that pattern. And then like a relationship pattern, marital pattern. What qualities stand out to you in the person or others that you tend to judge, criticize, or feel annoyed or hurt by? So what is the pattern, or what is the mirror that this pattern or person reflects back to us? Are they feeling heard? If you're not feeling heard, are you listening? If you're not feeling heard, can we listen better? What qualities stand out to you in the person or others that you tend to judge, criticize, or feel annoyed or hurt by? Okay, look for characteristics in this person or situation that you recognize within yourself or that appear similar. So is the mirror reflecting a similar trait or characteristic? Sometimes it's a similar characteristic, sometimes it's the opposite. So for example, are their shortcomings an exaggerated version of your own? We often judge others what we judge or deny in ourselves. So if this person appears too controlling and aggressive, for instance, ask yourself if you're also exhibiting either too passive or aggressive of behaviors. Or when it comes to communication, what's the mirror in our communication with others if we feel like they're either avoiding communication and withdrawing or engaging in conflict? So another example, does someone seem to lack respect toward you? If so, ask yourself if you lack respect toward them or even toward yourself. So that would be another mirror. And if the person behaves inconsiderate towards you, can you see where you can display more consideration, such as gratitude, appreciation, and so forth? If we're needing to feel more validated, where do we need to validate others more? Where do we need to validate ourselves more so that we're not seeking validation from others, for example?
And I think using this example similar to yours, if for instance, either of your parents were not displaying respect toward you, it's probable that as a child, you developed this belief that that's how you deserve to be treated. So that's how you began treating yourself. And it may not be in the level of respect that you did deserve. If that example
and a
makes
lot
sense.
of these things, it's really about learning how we need to treat ourselves better out of self-love.
Yeah,
Where do
treat
we need to
ourselves.
receive more
Right.
in a healthier manner, right? Based on greater self-love.
Love ourselves the way we wanted to be loved by others. We want to be loved by others.
Yes.
Yes.
Definitely.
For that own answer. So next question, what qualities within them reflect an imbalance within yourself? So after going over those examples, this quality might represent an opposing quality within you, such as the examples of aggressive versus passive. If they're too aggressive, then maybe we're behaving too passively. Or if they're too introverted, maybe we're overly extroverted. So there needs to be a balance that's met within ourselves. If we're seeing and judging something within others, if they're not communicating enough, maybe we're over communicating. Maybe if they're communicating too much, we are under communicating, under expressing.
And
So
because we've had
kind of mirrors.
because this is an advanced mirroring technique and it is high leverage inner work, there are times where this can be a little tricky for some. So we can refer back to an old proverbial idiom when we're using this example. It's kind of the pot calling the kettle black, right? That it's just a mirrored in others what we see in ourselves as a projection. So we're really just seeing it maybe exaggerated in others, something that we also are potentially guilty of at times as well.
Yeah. And it is, sometimes it takes time for other people to really catch on and see this. Like you said, it's pretty advanced.
Right. And from the example I stated earlier, remember, we probably learned it from our parents. This is where we learned it from. So very common.
Yeah, it's modeled to us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so next, let's examine the emotion this problem or person triggers inside of you, looking at some of the examples of common limiting beliefs and note any that apply. So we already covered I'm not enough, such as smart or educated enough. It's selfish of me to want more. I don't believe that I deserve it. So not feeling worthy of something, self-worth issues. I'm afraid of trying and failing, or I'm afraid of trying and succeeding. Sometimes our success can be scary too, and we have to step into higher levels and greater levels of success.
Yeah, and some other examples could be other people or outside forces that hold me back. I need money to make money. I don't have the willpower. I've already tried everything. There's not enough for me, right? Or the fear of rejection or not being loved, that are all really common.
Go ahead and mark in the chat box if any of those relate, or yeah, please go ahead and share.
Okay, so
talking about, where did the incidences happen? And when I was in junior high, I tried really, 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 really hard to get good grades, and I got straight A's. And I was so proud of myself because I had worked so hard, did extra credit, I did everything I could to get straight A's, and 3 years in a row. And so when I was in ninth grade, I finally showed my dad my report cards and showed him how I had gotten straight A's all through junior high because I'd done so, worked so hard and really made it happen. And not only did he not acknowledge me or validate me wanting to feel important and feel good enough, but he made me wrong. The only thing he said was that I had gotten bad because I was tardy a lot, and it had ends on my report card because I was tardy. And he said, that's what you need to work on. And I got from that incident that no matter what I do, how hard I work, I'll never be good enough. And so my whole life of 50 years, all I do was overachievement and work really hard all day long. From the minute I get up in the morning to the minute I go to bed, my whole day is full of daily tasks and things and projects. And, I don't ever get downtime or a break. And it's because I don't allow myself, because I don't feel like I deserve it.
Right. And it was a never enough. So I think it reinforced that programming that it's never enough, right?
Yep.
Exactly.
And still wanting to feel acknowledged. You've worked so hard to be appreciated and valid for your hard work and success, and not getting the acknowledgement, the validation, the recognition for any of those things.
For your hard work.
That continues to push you, and to what extent?
Yeah, right. And we also have other examples. It looks like everyone's listed pretty much in all of these other examples, classic examples: not being enough, afraid of succeeding, selfish, me want more, I need money to make money, and so forth. So thank you so much for sharing. Okay. All right, now we are going to review a list of common core beliefs and emotions, such as a belief of unworthiness, as you mentioned, the undeserving or poor self-worth syndrome. Again, that is often derived from abuse in our childhood or upbringing. Lacking emotional security, as you mentioned, wanting to feel safe, right? Not feeling enough, inadequate, or incompetent. Feeling powerless or like a victim. Controlled by fear, overwhelm, and anxiety. All of these are essentially what you've mentioned before: fear, suppressed emotions, conditional love. Of course, we've been taught oftentimes we're not loved enough, right? So it's conditional for who we are, what we do. Judgment, rejected, rigid or conflicting beliefs. Neglected or abandonment is a very common one. Often if we've had parents or other caretakers that haven't been present or abandoned us in our youth. Emotionally disconnected or dissociated. Blocked compassion or judgment. Chronic depression and worry. Perception of being unacknowledged, invalidated, or undervalued. So if there's one or more that stands out, then feel free to share. I think you shared most of those anyway, so. Okay, so what was the event that led to this core subconscious belief, which is also our filtered perception? So you may have some sticky memories that keep ruminating in your mind and has yet to be processed and healed, such as a past memory of feeling unloved or incompetent that could have led to feelings of shame. And can you see how this may have also been a pattern within your parents or the key players in your life with the same encoded beliefs, such as fear of failure or, not feeling like it's ever good enough? Do you see where this individual may also possess the same limiting belief? And what meaning was assigned, as you mentioned, or implied toward you by either of your parents, causing I'm not good enough syndrome, which you did share, right? It was never good enough, so you had to continue to be an hyperachiever. And what was the overall message that this mirror technique reflected to you about yourself that maybe you saw in someone else or in something else, where, you know, you both hurt and withholding love from one another due to pride, perhaps? And that may not even be relevant either.
I do have an example I can share on that.
Yes, I was just reading the comments, all of them. Okay, go ahead, please.
So in my childhood, my sister had just had hernia surgery. She was 2 and I was 7. And my parents left us alone. I was babysitting, and my sister, her stitches were itching and she was crying, and I wanted to help her so bad because that was just my natural tendency, is I like to help people. And so I took off the gauze and I put on band-aids over her stitches, because to me, when you're a 7-year-old, a band-aid helps, right? Well, when my parents got home, they saw that I had put band-aids on the stitches, and so when they went to go tear the band-aids off, it kind of did some damage to her incision, and I got beat really bad that night. And so the thought that came to me was, no matter how much I help, I'll always do it wrong.
You'll be punished for it.
Yep, I'll be punished. Yep.
Oh, goodness. So there's the sticky memory of the trauma of trying to help and doing your best. So do you feel that this parent-child, you know, partner pattern has been transferred to other relationships?
Oh yeah, not just that, but mostly with myself. I beat myself up all the time.
Oh, you deserve to be punished, right?
Yep.
Okay, so that might be the belief, the inherited belief from your parents.
And I'm going to add that that is going to add more guilt and shame even, which is kind of our lower emotions of being punished for doing something that was innocent, and not just innocent, but well intended on your part, and being punished for it. So yeah, that could produce even more guilt and shame. So
yeah, thank you for sharing that. That's really challenging. So if it helps, if you're ready, then for the rest of you, maybe you can name and write down the epigenetic belief or pattern from either your mother or father, or even if it's both. Like in your case, it would be, you know, potentially that I'm punished for helping, right?
Yeah.
And then obviously, if you feel that you're repeating the same pattern or belief in your own life as either of your parents, and as you mentioned, now it's been directed towards yourself.
and I'm just going to add to this, because I want you to ask, is this also a belief or pattern in either of your parents? So in other words, did your mom tend to punish herself or feel guilty or wronged or shamed? Or did your dad tend to punish himself, or were they punished, or either of them punished for doing something wrong, or had an overly, you know, controlling and what might have, you know, felt like an abusive parent?
When they intended well.
I don't know about my dad's parents very much, because I don't know my dad very well and his parent or his whole background and childhood. But with my mom, I know that she needed glasses really bad, and her mom didn't know it. And so when she would vacuum or clean, she, in her mind, was doing the best she could, but she couldn't see certain things. So she would get in trouble because she apparently did a bad job, even though she didn't know she had done a bad job until I discovered later on that she needed glasses.
No,
So
that her
yeah,
vision was
I'm
poor.
sure. Yep, I'm sure my mom too was punished for doing the best she could.
Oh, that's terrible. So an impaired vision was the result, was being punished for that. Oh,
Right.
see how innocent we all are? So it's so heartbreaking. Okay, mom lacked confidence, so therefore I lacked confidence. Yep. Okay. Yep, these are same patterns. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, a lot of times these are ones that are generational and epigenetic, and we have to look to our parents to see what hardships they may have endured that led to a certain belief and behavioral pattern that we may have adopted or that was genetically transferred. Like if there was a trauma, like you said, even with your parents, with your mom.
Yeah, precisely.
That had to wear glasses, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, so in the remainder of this 7-week workshop will be dedicated to recoding these subconscious and inherited beliefs using genetic recoding techniques to heal and advance to the next stage in your life successfully. So in the following workshop, we're going to cover step 2, which is one of the most essential steps, which is the adaptive emotional responses. So in this one, we're uncovering the problem, and then we're going to start learning how to develop those healthy coping responses to overcome unhealthy coping mechanisms, even including healing shame and resistance that prevents us from repeating the pattern and problem. So we look forward to those who will be joining us then for the same time next week.
Yay, me too.
Yes, thanks so much for all of the participation. I think it's been very helpful. And genetic recoding, just for all of your knowledge to help you understand that it is a standalone therapeutic process that starts at the root of core issues and inherent dispositions to recode those subconscious beliefs at the genetic and epigenetic level to clear distortions, again, as we mentioned before, to help anything that's been preventing us from being able to advance and causing self-defeating or sabotage behaviors from the childhood trauma and conditioning, been transferred into other relationship and generational patterns so that we can heal the generational programming as a chain breaker, and then therefore signaling a positive change in the gene expression and improving overall mindset to reach higher self-mastery, as well as further aiding your clients with their genetically transferred dispositions and beliefs, and so they can recode their core epigenetic patterns. So for many of you professionals that also offer additional modalities and therapies, genetic recoding utilizes a wide variety of therapeutic approaches that can also be used as an adjunct therapy with whatever you're currently doing to complement those modalities, those healing modalities and programs, or provide the multifaceted foundation. It is an invaluable tool for professionals that equips them with the broad methods of healing to provide a full holistic scope that will enable individuals, couples, families, and generations to overcome limiting beliefs, genetically transferred trauma, and psychological programming to activate higher gene potential, thereby solving these problems on all aspects, that holistic level: emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual.
Also, the 8-week holistic psychology workshop and practitioner diploma workshop starts next week at the same time, Tuesdays at 5:30 to 6:30 Mountain Daylight Time. And there will be a replay for those who are unable to attend. And the cost is currently offered at $200 USD for the regular workshop or $500 for the diploma workshop, just depending on the package that works best for you, unless you decide to upgrade. So the regular cost of the practitioner diploma courses vary between $1,500 and $3,000, but they are marked down for a special workshop rate. So for those of you who wanted to join us for the 8-week holistic psychology workshop and diploma workshop and haven't signed up yet, we do have payment installments available with a membership offer where you can make monthly payments versus upfront payments if you prefer. So if you do want to sign up for that and haven't yet, I'll provide you with a link at the end, and we'll go over different ticket items and the membership offers so you know exactly which one you want to sign up for.
And we also have a Therapeutic PANACEA workbook available for personal or professional use that implements the genetic recoding and can be used to follow along with the workshop, even if you're not signing up for the diploma workshop. These are included in some of the TIC offers. We have the Therapeutic 7-Step PANACEA workbook for $47, and we'll provide you with a link for that to get started. And we also have the Therapeutic 7-Step PANACEA workbook for practitioners and professional practices on sale for only $67. It is marked down from $97, which also includes the genetic recoding strategies, and we will provide a link for that so you can get started and take advantage of these discounts. So here are the benefits of our program. We do fully equip all of our professionals. We train and qualify by providing an internationally accredited diploma and a business in a box. We offer the financing and multiple price packages to help you heal and break patterns, belief systems, and generational programming, as well as those behavioral patterns. It's perfect for new or even seasoned entrepreneurs. It gives you the ability to work online from home, remotely, or even internationally, so that you have that freedom and independence. It enables you to leave a corporate job and work, again, independently or with a team. Remember, you can also provide group support, individual support, workshops, and again, there's multiple facets in which you can provide that will also supply you with more income opportunities. If you want, you can fast track the program in as little as 4 to 8 weeks, or you can do the self-paced program, whichever is a better option for you and your lifestyle or schedule. It comes complete with a ready-made business in a box, which is our turnkey practice for professionals. So anytime you want to upgrade, you can take advantage of that, and you can also provide those you can also be provided with those one-on-one sessions and get started anytime.
We also offer a satisfaction guarantee. You can work at your own pace, full or part-time, which is very helpful for single parents or just as a side income. And although it's designed to be an 8-week program, you do have between the 8 to 10 months to complete the program if needed, but you will receive your own lifetime copy after completion of the course. These programs are beneficial for individuals, couples, families, professionals, or aspiring professionals and entrepreneurs who are just ready to launch their business. It requires little to no marketing. The programs are available with the option of written and video and audio modules. And we have customizable programs and packages, such as including one-on-one sessions or pay-per sessions. We have a lot of different options. We do offer friend and family and referral discounts. We have wellness plans for those that join our team, and we can help with some startup clientele. And we also provide scheduling, customer service, and a help desk. So a lot of benefits. However, we do have a few exclusions. So we only work with people who are ready and willing to go deep and do the inner work. As you can see that with this therapeutic workshop, the kind of therapy that we do, and this is a requirement for practitioners. We're helping them to master their own medicine, and they can be more effective and work better with their own clients. So we work only with people who are coachable and respectful, accountable and self-aware, committed and motivated, who have the financial resources to get started, although we do offer the payment plans, and who are team players. So like we said, this is a workshop for the advanced minds. So if that's you, then go ahead and register for one of our courses or next week's workshop. And I'll go ahead and provide the link for that in the chat. So just to quickly, I'll go over the ticket items that are available so that you know which one you want to sign up for. These are the tickets available for the 8-week workshop and the payment installments that are available with each member offer. So we have the 8-week therapeutic workshop only for those who are not going for the diploma, but that just want the therapy. That is $200 for 8 weeks. The therapeutic workshop with the workbook, so that's $247, so it's just an additional $47 with the workbook that we showed you, and you can use that alongside your program, or you just have basically kind of a copy of the workshop that you can use for personal and professional use with your clients or for your own therapy. The practitioner diploma workshop is either $500 or 2 monthly payments. The diploma with the business in a box is the complete turnkey business, especially for new entrepreneurs and practitioners who are starting their own business, so they don't have to do everything on their own and spend time and years and money getting started and building a business and practice. So this is $697 for 4 monthly payments. And we have the advanced practitioner workshop. So you receive a diploma for each of these, except for the 8-week therapeutic workshop only. And so the advanced practitioner workshop comes with training, practitioner training, and one-on-one sessions. So that is $897 or 4 monthly payments. So I will go ahead and provide you with that link as well so that you can go ahead and register for the 8-week workshop and know exactly which one that you want to register for.
All right, perfect. Do we have any questions? We're going to go ahead and turn off the video and answer any of the questions. So we just want to say once again, thank you all so much for joining us. We wish you all of the best, and we look forward to seeing the rest of you in next week's workshop.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us, and we do wish you all of the best for the remainder of the year and helping you to achieve your goals and to recode those subconscious beliefs on a genetic level.
And we loved all the participation. So thank you so much, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you.